My name's Gary Brand. I'm a full-time faculty member in the business department here at Grand Rapids Community College. This live webcast is sponsored by ETOM, the Educational Teleconsortium of Michigan. And today, for the next hour, we're going to talk about social networking and Web 2.0 applications. If you go to the webcast website, and that is grcc.edu/webcasts, you can see links to the registration page, the View Live link. We'll have a archive up after the presentation. We'll also have a link to the slides that I'll be showing during the webcast. And we also got some interesting statistics on who's participating out there, a chat tool, and also the ability to email in your questions. I do want to mention a couple things about communicating during the live webcast. I will be able to see the chat, but I won't be able to respond to you through the chat tool, so I will be responding orally to you. Also on the email, the same thing. The emails will come in, and I'll be fed your email questions through my earpiece, and then I'll try my best to answer your questions for you. So if you haven't already, you can go to the webcast webpage, pull up the chat tool, and get ready to participate. One thing I wanted to show you on that webcast page before we get into the slide is a link that says participants. And when you click on that link, you're going to see one of our first Web 2.0 applications pull up. And this is I think a really neat example of what we can do with Web 2.0 applications. If you go to that page, which you can go to, it's live right now, you can see the folks that are participating in this live webcast. It looks like quite a few folks from North Central Michigan College. We've got some folks from Lawrence Tech out there, GRCC. You can see the different colleges, quite a few. Actually, a really good response to this webcast. If we go down the page here, you might even see your name there. We've got, in the last few days, 34 registrations, and I understand that at most of those sites, multiple viewers on each one of those registrations. So let's go ahead and get started with the content of this. Social networking and Web 2.0 applications in teaching. You can see there's a little beta up there on the ETOM Live webcast part, and that's because we're trying out some new things with this webcast. We're trying to incorporate some live chat within it, and we're going to try using some tools that you may not have used before, and you will be able to also go out there live and try the same tools that I'm talking about. So it's all beta. If you have a question, you can go to radarcast.grcc.edu to our webpage, or you can email your questions to radarcast@grcc.edu. So one of the things that we're just talking about is the ability to use web applications to generate data. And this is a program that's called WUFOO. That's WUFOO. That's the first thing you got to realize. A lot of Web 2.0 applications have kind of goofy names. That permitted me to go out and set up a form for free, to also handle the registrations, to go to a database, to go to my email, and then create these reports on the fly. So you can see the one graph that we already showed you about the participants, but you can also see over the term of a week how many folks, this could be students, participants in a workshop, how many they are that registered for each day. Now, before we get too far into this, you might have some questions about what social networking is. And here's the definition. And this is taken from Wikipedia, and I understand some of you out of there listening might or watching might think that Wikipedia is not the ultimate source in definitions of terms, but it is a social source, and there's a lot of editing of this page. And here's one of the definitions. Social network theory views social relationships in terms of nodes and ties. Nodes are the individual actors within the networks, and the ties are the relationships between the actors. So this is the whole concept of individuals working together and those relationships that ensue. And then we're going to talk a little bit about taking those relationships online. The slideshow is out there, so you can go and you can click on these live links and go look at the definition and some of the detail about social networking. So you can also go out there to Wikipedia, that link's on the next slide, and find out what Web 2.0 is. And Web 2.0 is not really so much a thing as it is a concept. And you can kind of see from this cloud of terms here that when you say Web 2.0, we're talking about the next generation of the web utilizing a lot of these different terms. And you may have heard of some of them, like blogs and wikis and RSS feeds. But basically, the whole idea here, if you're familiar with social networking, is that we kind of that 6 degrees of separation, where we, somehow have connections with other people who are out there, and you use those connections to exchange information, to create content on the internet. And really, I've been curious a lot about how those all relate to teaching and learning in a community college or university setting. So I'm going to drive on here to the next slide. And so when I talk about Web 2.0 applications, the slide has a number of links to different types of Web 2.0 applications. We're going to take a look at some of these. I've even put in a new ETOM logo there. I don't have any official sanction to do that, but this is an example of what they try to do in Web 2.0 is change up, modernize the logos, and always add that beta to it. In fact, if you had the slideshow up and you go over to that ETOM logo and you click on it, it will actually pull up a survey. So this is another example of a Web 2.0 application. We have a survey that was just created online. It's free to create these surveys. And you can send these surveys out to your students, to other faculty members perhaps. And this one, just to kind of show you what it might look like, I have a little survey here. Which do you like better? The current ETOM logo that's out there, the Web 2.0 logo that I just put on the slide, or perhaps you think you can do better. So go ahead and click in on those stars and elect one of those logos, and then we'll be able to later take a look at the results if we have time. This is just another example of how all these things are on the web. I don't need any special software to create these surveys. I pretty much did this in just a couple minutes setting up this survey. All right. So lots of different applications, Web 2.0 applications. And probably just to get a handle on it, you'd want to bookmark some different sites and organize them a little bit. But there's some directories out there that kind of give you an idea of what the different types of Web 2.0 applications are. So on that slide, we've got some general directories. We've got some Web 2.0 applications related to productivity tools, and I'll show you some of those. We even have video, which is big on the internet right now. Use it quite a bit in teaching, as well as a blog where you could go and get some more information about it. I'm going to go ahead and click on that first link. And this, if you're doing this as we're going through the webcast, this may take a little bit of time for it to load on your computer. But here we have kind of all the Web 2.0 applications. The logos are out there, and it allows you to navigate and look around for the different kind of application you might want to use online. And the idea is when you highlight one of these logos and you click on it, over on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a description of the Web 2.0 application, as well as maybe some of the purpose for it and a link to it. And I'll just try this one. This is a really neat tool that I think you could probably use in teaching and learning. It's called Gliffy. And I think when I click on it, if it pulls up here, we'll see that it looks like kind of a familiar tool. And down on the screen here, if you can see it, this is a Visio replacement. So if you use Microsoft Visio, but you don't happen to have it, or you don't have access to it at the moment, or perhaps your students would like to see a Visio file and they don't have Visio, then all you have to do is go to gliffy.com and sign up for a free account, and then you can create flowcharts, and you can also import existing Visio files into that. So I'm going to see if I can sign in here, and I'll give you an example of what this looks like. Once you set up an account, I'll go ahead and put in my password here, which is Big Boy, by the way. And I'll go to an example of one of these flowcharts. And this interface should look pretty familiar if you've ever done any charting software. And I'm going to click on it. And here within the middle, I can see all my flowchart tools. And this was created right here in Gliffy. And I can drag and drop different shapes into the flowchart. I can do a lot of the things that I can do in Visio in terms of creating floor plans. And I'll quit rattling for a second and just say that I'm giving you an idea of some of these applications and what you might use them for. But as I go through them, you might say, oh, hey, that's something that I could use, and you might have a particular application. So go ahead and email us that, or send us a chat message about how you might envision using this in your teaching. One of the things that you can do after you create the file is share it. So you put this flowchart into Gliffy, and then you click on share, and you can collaborate with someone else online to edit the flowchart together, or you can publish that information, and up pops a box that allows you to embed the final flowchart into a web page or a blog, and then you could probably put that in a web page that your students could access. So all kinds of uses. A lot of these productivity tools, you don't need to have Office software in order to use them. In fact, over the weekend I had some problems with Excel. Someone sent me a file. My computer kept crashing. I tried reinstalling Microsoft Excel and was unable to do that, but I was able to use one of these Web 2.0 applications to load the Excel spreadsheet in and open it up and edit it. So that was a really useful tool. And I mean, if you think about it, some of your students out there may not have Excel or Word or Visio, and some of the links out there will take you to these programs online that allow you to open up these documents. So like in online courses, I typically will tell students that you need a Word document, Word in order to open up the document, or I go through the effort to change it to a rich text format file. And now I can actually have the Word document out there through one of these Web 2.0 applications, and they can read it without even having to have the software. So I think lots of neat applications of these Office tools. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the slideshow and go back to our directory here. And I'll just show you a few more. I'm going to go down the page a little bit. Whoa, went kind of far down the page. So there's the ability to send podcast or audio online. You can go there and you can go through some of these if you'd like. There's one tool that I like that's called Netvibes, and I'm going to show you that here. In fact, I can just go to my home page, because that's what I use as my home page. And you can see this is my start page. This is done in Netvibes, and you can go to netvibes.com and set up your own free account. And one of the things that I like about a tool like this is that I'm able to put all my information into one place. So if you're a faculty member or an administrator that monitors a lot of blogs, has a lot of email coming at you, perhaps you have some feeds of information or all your bookmarks. One of the greatest things I think about this tool is I can actually go to my bookmarks online, and I can do that from any computer. So if you've ever had the situation of going to a different computer in your classroom, or going home and not having the same bookmarks that you have at your laptop or your desktop in your office, this tool will allow you to put all your bookmarks in one place, and you can use any browser to surf to your bookmarks. That's kind of a neat tool. So one of the other things you can do on the slides is look at some of the productivity tools that are out there. And I'm going to go and click on this. I think this is a great site. And you can go to it directly if you don't have the slides or the link, and it's at itredux.com, Office-20, which is Office 2.0 applications. This is a huge database of Office applications that you can use to create teaching content with, to provide to your students in case they don't have it. And let's just page down through some of these. There's lots of bookmarking tools, and I'll show you an example one, a Delicious. I don't know how well you can see some of this on the screen. Calculators, calendars. There's just tons of different types of applications here. And there's Gliffy, the ability to draw, email, if you wanted to use some kind of web-based email. I'm just going to keep on going through these. You can see there's just a huge list. Collaboration tools, instant messaging tools that you could use with your students. I know some of you like to use, I'm going to go back up here a little bit, I'm probably making some people dizzy right now. Mind mapper tools, so the ability to allow students to put together mind maps online. Music players. You kind of get the idea. Some of these tools are real helpful for students. For example, these outliner tools where they can go and put their outlines online. If they have laptops, wireless laptops in class, they could actually pull up the outline in class. They could share those outlines with their friends. Personal organizers are good for students, so they can keep track of their homework through these web-based personal organizers. Photo editing. Lots of faculty that I talk to say, that's great, how did you do that? That's a nice image you used in that PowerPoint or whatever, but how do I get a hold of this expensive photo editing software? And a lot of the photo editing I do now is not necessarily using Fireworks or some kind of software that's on one computer, but these online photo editing applications. And so you can actually store all your photos online and then use some of these photo editing programs to edit the photo online, publish to a slideshow. There's just tons of stuff that you can do. Pretty much most applications that you can have on your computer you can now do through the web. I wanted to show you on the browser here an example of some presentation tools that you can use. The slideshow that's on the website is through a tool called Zoho Show. And when I go to browse to that, I can actually click on the link and open up my browser, and I can log in. That's if I remember my password here. And take a second to load. If you have any questions while we're waiting for this to pull up, please email radercast@grcc.edu. But now here we are, and the same presentation that I put it together and uploaded it online, and I could set it so you could access the same presentation. There's tons of applications for this for students, from being able to view slideshows without having to PowerPoint to being able to collaborate. I know one faculty member who actually uses this to have all the students edit a slideshow from remote locations. So this is, I can upload a PowerPoint presentation and then publish it, web enable it. So right over here I've got actions, and I can create a public URL, and it tells me my public URL to the slideshow I'm doing is right here. And when I click on that, I get a link that looks like this, and it says click here for the slideshow. And the very same slideshow that's on my computer that I'm editing pops up as a presentation online, viewable through any browser. So a student wouldn't necessarily have to get into Blackboard or some content management system to see it. They could see it online. So I've got lots of windows open here. I'm going to probably close some of them. All right, the next link down is about video. And, you know, we probably should talk about that for a minute. A lot of times we think of video as a CD, or a DVD or a VCR tape that we might bring into the classroom. And what we're finding out these days is that a lot of content is being developed through video and put online. A lot of it you might think is junk, might not be that good, but it really is all the rage. And you can go out there and find quite a bit of content. Some of it actually is pretty informative that you don't have to create yourself. And you can embed that in your course management system. You could have it on a blog. There's lots of things you can do with it. So you don't always have to create this video from scratch. There's lots of video out there that you could use in your instructional content. I'm going to just go to that link. And here we go. And it says viral video. That's kind of the rage here, and you know, hopefully we won't have anything too inappropriate pull up here. But this is an example of on the web, through things like YouTube, MySpace, Google Video, what are the #1 videos that are out there are the rage right now. And it just is amazing, the whole concept of social networking, how someone could put something like a Numa Numa dance or make a cat do a Numa Numa dance, and it's the #2 video on the internet right now. I won't spend time showing you that right now, but you know, really, what application does this even have to a classroom? I mean, how are you going to use a Numa Numa cat dance video in your classroom? It's probably not so much the point, but your learners, your students that are out there are spending their time on this stuff, and they're accessing their information this way. So I think it's good to take a look at some of the things that are out there, some of the things you may not want to take a look at, and just see what kind of videos are out there that your students are looking at. And probably one of the other things I'd say about that is, you know, it's more than just video on the internet. It's the social networking component to those videos, because those videos are content that's created by folks that could be your students. They put it out there, they tell their friends to it, their friends show up, they comment about it. Pretty soon it becomes viral. I mean, even folks like Coke and some of these large corporations are trying to create these viral video campaigns. One that I heard of recently was in the news a lot. I think it's a lonely girl. She was a young girl who's supposed to be in her bedroom grounded, and she'd go on every day and give her video, and millions of people are tuning into this thing, and they're chatting about it on the internet, spending lots of time. It turns out it's really an actress, and the whole thing is either a viral marketing campaign of some kind or just some kind of publicity stunt. So there's lots of junk out there, but there's also some reasons to take a look at it and find out what our students are looking at on the internet. All right. I also wanted to show you one more thing on that slide. And this is an example of a blog. And I'm using the term blog a lot. I'm going to go ahead and go to my blog here at GRCC. And you can go there too. It's grcc.edu/blog, and there's a number of things that you can find. One is an announcement of this webcast, but as I go down the page, I've added something to it. I've been able to take that tool that I showed you, which was a survey, and embed it into the blog. So I could have my students come to this blog, which I do. I can put some text in there. I could put a video of some kind that relates to something we're talking about in class. There's plenty of those out there. And then I could have them vote on it. And then we can vote on those things in class. I can think of one example. I always had a difficult time telling my students about torts and when corporations might be responsible for their negligent actions. And we're probably getting a little off track here in terms of this is not a law video, but one of the things that really helped bring this point home was an exploding Pinto. And so I was able to show a video or a graphic of the situation, and that they understood on my blog, and they were able to provide input. So the nice thing about this is at the bottom of that post, they can go in and they can add their comments to it. They can blog about it themselves. They can complete the survey. So also on that blog, there's some information about the different types of things that I bookmark. And one thing about social networking and Web 2.0 applications, it really takes the power of the internet one step further. And I'll give you the bookmark analogy. Used to be you'd have to scribble down or write down a web address. Then you probably learned how to actually bookmark that in your web browser. And then you'd go to a different web browser, and then you couldn't access it from that web browser. And so they came up this whole concept of putting your bookmarks online. So you're able to go to your web page and find your bookmarks regardless of which browser you're using. Then the next generation of the internet is about sharing those bookmarks with other people. And I'll show you something here. This is on my blog website over on the right-hand side. I have my bookmarks. So these are some of the things that I've thought were interesting, would be helpful preparing for this presentation, and I'm able to embed that into my blog, and it's dynamically updated. And then you at any time could go there and say, I'm interested in what kind of things he bookmarked for Web 2.0. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that should send me here. So far we've had pretty good luck in not getting dead links and going to where we need to go. To some of the things that I've marked as Web 2.0 applications that I thought might be beneficial to teaching and learning. One of the first ones on the page there is simpleseating.com. There's actually a Web 2.0 application out there that allows you to set up seating charts and diagrams online. So you probably would want to keep that information confidential, and you can mark it as private. But you could actually put seating charts and out there on the internet and make it confidential so other people couldn't get access to it. But you could pull it up anywhere in class if you had a question about what the seating chart or even into the classroom. There's tons of Web 2.0 applications out there. Another one that's there on that link, if you look at it, is called e-office hours. So you're able to actually go to a web page where you can set up your own e-office. It's free. When I say it's free, a lot of these, there's an initial entry package that's free, and then they try to get you to go to the more expensive ones that would cost you money. But a lot of these completely free applications are powerful enough to do what you need to. So I'm just going to go down the page here a little bit. There's tons of these Web 2.0 applications. Docly is something where you could put your Word documents online, and they could your students could access those same documents. They could share it, they could edit it. Some of them even allow for editing in real time. So, for example, you're in a small group with your students, or you're in a faculty or administrator meeting, and you want to be able to edit the same document at the same time. And, a lot of times when you try to get folks together and collaborate, where is that document at? Well, it's out there on the network. And then you go find the document on the network, and someone opens up. Perhaps they have wireless access, and so they're opening the document up in a meeting. Well, sure enough, one of them opens it up, and then another person comes along and tries to open up that document. Then then there's a problem. One can't open it or access it and edit because someone else have it edited. That's a nice thing about these Web 2.0 applications. A lot of them allow real-time editing at the same time with multiple parties. So if you can imagine the application, you have for example, a Google spreadsheet, totally online spreadsheet application out there projecting into your classroom, and your students are also on that spreadsheet, and they're able in real time to populate that spreadsheet. Perhaps they're doing an experiment or they're gathering data of some kind. They're actually able to put that information in the spreadsheet. The other nice thing about it, in addition to everyone being able to see it, edit collaboratively, is most of these Web 2.0 applications will save in real time. So if you've ever had a student in your classroom who's working on some kind of web-based project and they go to submit it and then they lose all their work, a lot of these things like Google Spreadsheet, some of the Zoho products we were looking at, actually continuously save the product or save whatever the work is instantaneously. So even if you close it out or the browser crashes, they're able to go back and see what the very last thing was that they did. So just lots of, I think, useful applications for teaching. All right, I probably spent a lot of time on that. What I wanted to get into more detail about is, why are we even talking about this? I mean, okay, social networking is the rage. Web 2.0 is a term you see everybody using in all kinds of different contexts. But what does it mean to us as teachers? And, I kind of broke this down and looking at it from two different directions. One is, we're teaching to people of this generation. So we're teaching to people who are into social networking, who are into using things like Facebook and MySpace. Facebook is kind of a closed system, although it's starting to open up. It's a web portal that you can go to if you have an edu domain and some other domains, and actually create content and share with other students, other faculty. MySpace is definitely all over the place. It's always in the news about things from folks getting stalked on MySpace to just all the video that's out there, some of it potentially violating copyright law. But one of the other things you see about MySpace is it is a real good example of a social networking tool, but probably not the best interface. It really, in terms of Web 2.0, I'd say it's probably back at Web 1.0 or Web and a half in terms of how user-friendly it is or how well it works. It's just kind of a clunky tool to use. But more people use that tool on the internet than any other tool around. So, looking at it in terms of who we're teaching to and what kind of tools they're using. For example, we probably think that we make ourselves available when we have our phone number out there in our syllabus and our email address, but there's really lots of students who are using all kinds of tools that we may not even have considered. For example, these web-based chat tools that we're talking about. The chat that we're using, feel free to go to that website, click on the chat tool to see this. It's no software is downloaded, no setup really involved. You just go there, you name your forum, and then all your students or anybody in your social network can jump in there and start chatting. And it really is just a tool that could be used from any web browser. So your students, I don't know if you've seen this, but I know I've seen it because I have kiosks set up outside my office. And these students get out of class. As soon as they get out of class, they're instant messaging through their AOL or some account on their cell phone, and then they go to the kiosk and they're on Facebook, and they're looking at videos that have been submitted, or perhaps they're chatting about things that happened in class. So they're sharing tons of information through these portals. I'm not seeing a lot of traffic in our chat, but if you want to go there and pose some questions or send me email, that would be great, so I could talk less and respond to some of your questions. Another way that we can look at social networking and Web 2.0 is what we're teaching with. And, we've talked a little bit about that. hopefully we're teaching with tools that involve this social component. And I know when I was putting together a description for this webcast, I was thinking in terms of what do our current content management or learning management systems allow us to do? And is that really similar to what our students are using out there? So, for example, how well does something like Facebook with its social networking tools compare to something like Blackboard? Does Blackboard have those tools that allow them to engage each other, interact, share information, and probably one of the most important things, create content? Okay, and I think a lot of the content management systems, at least in the past, were set up to allow the faculty member or perhaps an instructional designer or some multimedia person to create content and put it out there, but not so much allowing students to create their own content. So a lot of learning management systems are moving into that arena in terms of adding blog and wiki functionality to their learning management system. Within Blackboard, we've got some tools. And when I say blogs and wikis, just quickly explain the difference between that. Blogs are weblogs or pages that you can go to and post, and then other people can come along and reply to them or post comments. And you can see an example of my blog out there. But wikis are a little bit different. Wiki, it means quick in Hawaiian, and basically the idea is that you could quickly edit a web page. So imagine the implications of creating a web page and putting it out there and allowing students to edit it themselves. You know, one of the things I hear a lot of faculty talk about are creating portfolios or figuring out how to assess the work that students are doing. Wikis would allow you to create perhaps a blank page or create a template and allow students to go out there and put their content in. And, you know, they're really ready for this. They're really ready to put video out there, to put web pages, to connect with other people and share that information. I mean, it's funny how on one hand we seem to have difficulty working with students in groups and getting them to do the work, but if we could just get them to think that what they're doing is social networking, they probably would do it. So, you know, I've experimented with this a little bit, setting up a website or content areas within Blackboard that look a lot like some of these social networking tools that we've been talking about. So teaching in a way that looks familiar to students is important. So using some of these social networking tools or Web 2.0 applications I think is helpful for students because they probably learn better when they're more comfortable with the tools that they're using. Back on the slide, one of the other things that we should take a look at is are we in our teaching using tools that go beyond kind of the software that comes on our computer? Should we be using these tools? So, you know, when I open my laptop up, I've got Microsoft Office, I've got Macromedia products or Adobe products, I've got my content management system, I got my traditional ways of communicating with my students, email, phone, walk in and talk in my office. It's always great to actually meet and talk to students face to face, but are we using the tools that they might be using? Are we using the tools that will help us really go beyond what we may have in software that's resident on our computer? So definitely something that we want to consider. So now we've talked a lot about, in generalities, about social networking, Web 2.0, and we've talked about some of the implications in teaching and learning. I wanted to kind of take you through some actual application of these tools. And sometimes it's a little bit of a strange connection. You know, it doesn't seem quite common to you, like this picture here of a hippo and a large sea turtle. You just don't typically see these kind of things together. But the more I think you get into these and you start to see the power of them, the more, even though they're different and perhaps not tools we're used to using, the more they might seem to fit together. So we've talked a little bit about some of these tools here. Whoops, I hit the wrong key. Here we go. So I'm going to look at, since we've already talked a little bit about blog and chat, well, actually, let's go to that chat tool here. So I'm going to pull up the chat tool and see an actual example of a chat tool. And I guess one question here is, why would we use one of these chat tools? And Pat has posed a question here. We can see in the chat form, it says, is it a pay-for service? No, this is completely free. So it was really easy to set up. I set it up in a matter of minutes, and I'm able to see who's out there connecting to the chat tool, what kind of questions they have, and there's no cost to it. Now, again, some of these Web 2.0 companies out there have this kind of as a loss leader to lead to another product that has more power or more tools, but this tool is free. One of the things that I think you do want to be concerned about is with a number of these tools, you do have to agree to the terms. Okay, so as you do that, you're going to want to make sure of the legal consequences of the terms that you're agreeing to, and make sure that they don't involve some kind of pay or fee basis, or even if they don't at the time, that maybe at some point in the future they do. So if you haven't, go on out there, and I see some nice comments from Jason out there. But go out there and take a look at this chat tool and see what some of these questions are. One of the questions out here is, whether some of the tools that we have within Blackboard are available online. And one of the examples was a safe assignment. A lot of those anti-plagiarism tools are available in web-based models. So Turnitin is probably one of the larger ones that you can actually go through your content management system like Blackboard, or you can go to the web-based version of it and check student papers for plagiarism. But relating to Pat's question, I actually saw this morning on a news feed about one of the major universities that had signed up for Turnitin, not safe assignment. And now the faculty was questioning the $20,000 or more a year that was being spent to maintain that tool. So you do have to be careful about some of these tools that do have cost. But really what I'm focused on here are some of these low threshold applications that don't have any cost associated with them. There's some pros and cons to using them. This chat tool is outside the Blackboard application, so that means that you may not have a whole lot of control over it, so perhaps it's not one that you would want to use for a really critical application. Maybe you could use it for office hours or something like that. And you're going to want to make sure that you, if you are using a tool like this, then you could have students use nicknames or aliases, or if they're going to use their real names, that it's something that other folks don't have access to. One question that just came in was in terms of, is there a clear age of a student that prefers to use this method? Yeah, probably. I would say a lot of these students are younger, probably fresh out of high school, or just kind of that next generation of students, or sometimes called Generation X students. It's kind of interesting. When I bring up some of these tools in the classroom, I really connect with some of those students, and other students, they have no idea what I'm talking about, and they just look at me like I'm some kind of geek, which I am. But, it's really, it's all over the board, and I think that's something to consider here, is that I'm not making a blanket statement that everybody in your class is way out there and using all these Web 2.0 applications, but it is the way of the internet, and if there are students that aren't using so many things, it may be a good idea to expose them to some of these services that are out there. All right, if you've got more questions, it looks like we've got a few more coming in. Please go ahead and post them online. If I missed your question, then go ahead and post something again or send me an email so I can make sure that I capture your question. All right, so back to application. We were talking about that chat tool. Another tool is we can even set up quick discussion boards. So I can click on this link, and in a second it'll pull up a tool. And this one is called Boardy. It's a web message board, and this is an example of social networking. Folks are going to this site, setting up their own discussion boards, setting up feeds to it so they can, on their own computer, be notified when someone posts something that's interesting to them. And pretty much they can set up these themselves. They're very simple to set up. They're free to set up. Again, keeping in mind all the issues around student confidentiality. This may not be the tool that you want to use as the discussion board in an online class, because you probably want to make sure, well, you do want to make sure that you're protecting the student's identity and that information isn't public. But definitely a tool that students could use to work in study groups or share information with each other. So that's a real good tool. In the next area, so we talked a little bit about how we could improve or encourage interaction through some of these Web 2.0 applications. Our productivity. And we've already talked quite a bit about office tools. A couple things that I did want to show you that I think have some real implications to teaching. One is the search tools out here. And I'm going to go to this search tool. I found this and I bookmarked it, and I'll show you where you can get access to it. Sorry about that. This is a search tool called Snap. And usually when somebody these days mentions search, we think Google. Lots of people use Google. Google has a huge percentage of this market in terms of searching and advertising. But this tool, which is out at snap.com, is called a predictive search tool. And so what it does, as soon as you start typing, it actually starts trying to predict or guess at what you're searching for and gives you suggestions. And so let me just give you a look at what this looks like. I'm going to just type in a search term. I'm going to type in ETOM. And as I start to type it in, you'll notice it starts trying to guess at what I might be looking for. And if someone started off with E, it would say, oh, maybe you want to look at eBay or ESPN. And as I keep typing, it starts continuing to predict what kind of terms I might be looking for, and apparently it didn't predict ETOM. So I'm going to go ahead and search for ETOM and see what comes up. This is the next thing that I think is just really interesting about these kind of Web 2.0 applications. You know how when you do a search, you might get tons of results and links and not much of a description of what they are. And when you try to do this kind of research into in a classroom or something, it can be kind of a scary experience because you're not quite sure what's going to come up on some of these links when you search. So actually, when I did the search for ETOM, it told me on the left, here's the search term, and then if I click on that search term, then over on the right, it actually gives me a preview of that website. So this is what I think would be real beneficial for you as a teacher as you prepare for a class and you want to maybe do some research on it. Not that snap.com is the only source for research, but if you want to see what websites are out there and preview them before you actually go them, you could do this. And then the next component of this is just socially sharing these search results. So you're out there, you use Snap, it predicts what you want, you find what you want, you preview it, and then you're able to actually save these searches and share these searches with other people. So you go out there, you come up with some good search terms for your class, you come up with some good content, and then you're able to share them and lead your students to these links. You could even create an RSS feed, which we'll be talking about in an upcoming webcast, where it pushes that information out to your students. All right, so one of the questions, we just got an email that came in about how all these tools affect attendance. And this is a common question I think that comes out in terms of we make all this information available on the internet. They can access it from anywhere. In our last webcast, we were talking about doing podcast or video cast of class and what effect this has on attendance. I can speak from my experience and some of the faculty that I talked to. It depends on how you use technology and how you teach as to what effect that has on attendance. The other day, I pulled up an example of my video podcast in class and showed it to them. And, they kind of had that look on their face like, okay, so I can get some of the things you're talking about in class right on the internet. And I said, hold that thought. And then for the next hour and a half, we worked in groups and we, worked on projects and we talked a lot about stories and cases that all weren't available on the internet. So I think if we've got content out the internet that we can send students to, and that's the only content that we have, that's the only thing that we do in our teaching, then I could see that could be an issue. You can still put this stuff out there and still require students to come to class. Okay, so it's not like you say you don't have to come to class, you can get the stuff online. You could still require students to come to class and have this supplemental material out there. I find pulling some of these Web 2.0 applications into the classroom actually draws students into the classroom, giving them a chance to see what kind of things are going on the internet while they're right there in class. An example today, I had students and they got into groups and they were talking about like the McDonald's coffee case and the woman who spilled coffee on herself. And we were able to go and search for some of that information, and that led to some discussion about burns, and then we were able to go and look at burn victims, and we were able to do all that right there in the classroom versus if they're out there online, they're kind of left to themselves to try to figure some of those things out. So we're able to pull that content right into the classroom. All right, so if you got more questions, we're running up in the last few minutes. I got someone talking in my ear here as I'm doing this, talking about another question coming in. Great question, and that's how do we know that they're even looking at this stuff? So we spend all of our time, we watch this live webcast on social networking, Web 2.0. We learn all this stuff. We put it all out there. How do we know that we're actually seeing it? There's a number of ways of doing it. One of the application I was showing you actually allows you to track who accesses it and gives you customizable reports in terms of when they access it, where they accessed it from. When we talk about video, there's ways to set videos up through your server that's at your institution, so you can track who's accessing what kind of video, when they're accessing it, from what IP address. So there really are lots of ways to do it. And if you have a static web page where you put a picture out there, that can be beneficial in terms of your class. But when you have a dynamic web page where students come there and they interact, they post to it, they ask questions, and then you're able to see that they're actually using that content and getting involved in it. Especially if they're creating the content, you can see that they were there. Great question. It really is all about using all the learners and the faculty together to create that content, that kind of that constructivist theory that we can do this together, and it means more when we build this knowledge together than if it's just one-way communications coming from the professor. So great question. If you've got more in the last few minutes, go ahead and send them in by email, and I'll try to answer them. Probably this is a question coming in from my own institution. How do I find the time to do all this and still do my job is the question. I don't. I actually don't do anything other than this. I just surf the internet all day and pretend that, no. Actually, in the beginning, I think it really is a stretch to try to learn this stuff, to find it out there. But as time goes by, you start to find out what kind of tools work best for you, and it takes less of your time. One thing that might help answer your question, how social networking can actually help you save time is on the slide, and we can go look at this later. There's this bookmarking tool, and this tool is called Delicious. Kind of a strange name, but it's del.icio.us, and it's a bookmarking tool. And over on the right there, you can see some of the bookmarks that I saved, particularly for ETOM. And the neat thing about this is, let me, back to that question about how you find the time. I didn't find all the time to do all this stuff. I actually have people who are in my social network or who are my online friends who are contributing to this. So, for example, I'm bookmarking things that are Web 2.0. I click and do that. There's 103 posts. I didn't come up with all those posts by myself. If you look at the part that's highlighted here, it says saved by 167 other people. So let's just go to that tool. This is a tool that someone else told me about through tagging, and I'm going to go to it. And it's, I think, kind of a neat tool. I put in the ISBN number for a textbook or some other book out there, and then I pick which format that I want the bibliography in, and it spits back the answer to me. So I don't have any ISBN numbers handy, but I could type those in. I hit the Get Citation, and I select what format I want it in, and it generates it for me. So actually kind of a time saver, not one that I came up with myself. So really neat tools. And I just invite you that as you go out there and you're searching for tools, you come across something that you think would be beneficial to follow up after this webcast, go to Delicious, set up an account, and create a tag like ETOM. You tag it there. Anybody anywhere puts that tag on it. I get that tag, and I'm able to get these new applications without actually having to go out there and do it myself. So I think that's the power of social networking. I don't have to come up with all this stuff by myself. Great question. All right. So one of the last things I wanted to show you is we talked about interaction, we talked about productivity, tools that we could use is what kind of alternative tools could we use to presentations? I'm using one right now. This tool was that Zoho tool that I used online that I can create slides that look a lot like PowerPoint, but that I can share with students that I can collaboratively edit online. And so there's tons of applications out there now that would allow us to do something more or different than PowerPoint would do. Some of the nicer tools out there in the presentation arena, and those are bookmarked out there, actually allow you to create the slides, and it automatically converts it to Flash. So, if you've ever been online and you've seen a nice Flash multimedia presentation, but you thought, I don't have the tools to do Flash, you don't have to. You actually create it just like it's in PowerPoint. You hit a button to publish it, and then it publishes it all in Flash, and it shows up in the browser as a Flash presentation, so you can have all kinds of images, video in it, transitions. It really is a nice tool. One of the last areas I wanted to show you is graphics, because this comes up a lot. When I talk to faculty who are just getting into putting some things online, they want to know how to just create simple graphics or put graphics online. So when I go to the last part of the slide, it talks about graphics, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to go to my Flickr account. And first thing it says is, hey, you're using too much of your Flickr account. You got too many photos out there, but I don't care. I'm going to do it for free anyway. So I can click on this online photo service, and here's an example of I took these pictures, I uploaded them. You can go there, you can see them, and one of the really neat things about this is I don't have to have this on just one computer on my hard drive. I can put it out there. It could be private, it could be public. And One thing I wanted to show you is, I'll pull up this guy right here because he's listening to the webcast, watching it right now. I can actually go and blog it, or I can go to the different sizes. And any of my students could go here and they could get these images, they could download them. I can change the size. So I don't need any photo editing tools. I can do these just from the web browser window. So there's tons of things out there. Please go out, take a look at the bookmarks that are out there. You're going to see lots of things. If you have some great ideas about how to use this in teaching and learning, please send them into radarcast@grcc.edu. And on that note, I'm going to pull it up. Thank you for coming, tuning in, social networking and web 2.0 applications and teaching. It's been great. If you have more questions, you can continue to send me those emails. If you want to go look at this webcast in the future at any time, you can go out there and at the RadarCast website, which is at the bottom of your screen there. You can go there. You can get access. Also, you can go to eTom. You can go to the etom.org website. They're the sponsors of today's webcast, and you can get a link to the archive. Use this as you may. I'm interested if you were out there and you had some folks in your room. If you said you're going to have some discussions afterwards about how you might use some of these tools in teaching and learning, please send me an email. Send an email to radarcast@grcc.edu. It'd be great to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in today.